Now, we can assume that some of those votes that the ANC lost, 700,000 of them new black votes, went to the DA, and of course over 1 million went to the new kids on the block, the EFF.
Yes.
Now, do you see the EFF having staying power?
Well, too early to tell, of course. The first day of Parliament is yet to arrive. They certainly did a very good campaign. To get to 6.3% from nowhere is pretty good. On the other hand, the cautionary lesson this election is COPE, which got even more votes in the previous election and a higher percentage, over 7%, also the third party of Parliament. And if I go back to my parliamentary career, the third party with 10% of the votes in 1994 was the Inkatha Freedom Party, now reduced to a tiny parliamentary presence of, I think, 10 people. So there are a lot of cautionary lessons for the EFF. And I think Julius Malema is a very charismatic politician. I mean, his political prospectus or his economic offering is ruinous. I've lived for 3 years in Latin America as an ambassador, and I know the damage Hugo Chavez, his role model, did in Venezuela. Now he wants to bring that South Africa minus Venezuela's oil. You will be in a failed state if any of those policies are implemented. But he's got appeal because he's a kind of more radical and populist version of the ANC. In fact, the interesting thing that I did in another newspaper column was to add up the EFF and the ANC votes. And there you get really towards 70% of two versions of the ANC's version and the Malema version, because essentially they are in the same broad camp. And I don't know how he's going to do in Parliament. That's going to be the test. If he does what Cope did, he won't be a feature in the next election. I also don't know how much of a legislator he is or his team. They might surprise. But Parliament, I can tell you, having been both a campaigner as a party leader and a parliamentarian, as I was 20 years, is not as glamorous or exciting or sexy as running a campaign. It's hard graft. It's in the minutiae of the legislation. It's in the committees that you make an impact, and therefore the public takes you seriously. And I think that we'll have to take that under advisement, as they say, and see what happens.
On a lighter note, can you imagine those red berets and overalls in Parliament?
Well, look, Parliament's not exactly been a centre of fashionistas. We've had actually a lot of fashion disasters at the opening of Parliament. I don't have to mention, you know who I'm talking about, and there have been a few of them. So I can't think the red beret or the red overall will actually do any harm. But, it'll wear off after a while. You can only, put on your red beret and your overalls and get attention for a few days. And then that's not what people sent you to Parliament, to go. It's not a fashion ramp. It's a legislative body.